Today, we're exploring one of the most fascinating mysteries in our instrument's history. There once was a virtuoso guitarist who stood shoulder to shoulder with Liszt, Paganini, the Schumanns, yet somehow he slipped through the cracks of memory. Giulio Regondi. He was being hailed as a revolutionary talent in his day, but still, Regondi's star faded almost completely after his death in 1872. His compositions were gathering dust in archives for over a century. It's only in the last few decades that musicians and researchers have begun to rediscover his extraordinary works. Today, pieces like his haunting Reverie and the formidable Introduction and Caprice have finally secured their places in the standard repertoire. Yet even now, with these works firmly established, Regondi remains underrated, a composer whose full genius we're still uncovering. What makes Regondi's story even more remarkable is that he wasn't just a guitar virtuoso. He simultaneously mastered and championed another instrument entirely, the English concertina, a hexagonal bellows-driven instrument that has since faded into obscurity. Think about that for a moment. Imagine if Segovia had simultaneously been the world's greatest accordion player, or if Bream had also revolutionized the harmonica. That's essentially what Regondi accomplished a century earlier. So how did such an extraordinary musician entirely fade? And why is his music, even beyond those two famous pieces, only now experiencing a renaissance? That's what we're looking at today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. Thank you to Tonebase for making them possible. Learn more in the video description. Regondi's early life reads like a Charles Dickens novel. A tale of extraordinary talent, cruel exploitation and heartbreaking betrayal. Born in Geneva, Switzerland around 1822, to a German mother who died in childbirth, Regondi was raised by an Italian man named Giuseppe Regondi. This man was probably not even his biological father, but rather a guardian who recognized the boy's potential as a source of income. By age 5, young Giulio was already playing the guitar with remarkable skill. His father subjected him to a brutal regimen, 5 hours of daily practice, locked alone in their apartment, while Giuseppe was out. A neighbor was paid to spy on the boy and report if he missed practice time, which would then be added to his evening schedule. By age 7, he was performing concerts in Paris, dazzling audiences as a Mozart-style wunderkind. At 8, he was known as the Infant Paganini, a nickname that wasn't mere publicity hyperbole. Fernando Sor himself was so impressed by young Regondi that he dedicated his Souvenir d'amitié, opus 46, to the boy in 1831. That same year, Regondi performed in London, where none other than Niccolò Paganini heard the 9-year-old play. According to contemporary accounts, the legendary violinist expressed unqualified astonishment and delight at the boy's performances. Regondi settled in London, and from 1834 to 35 he embarked on an extensive tour of Ireland, giving over 50 concerts alongside his father. At this point came the betrayal that would mark him forever. Giuseppe vanished, taking with him all of Regondi's earnings, approximately £2,000, equivalent to millions in today's currency. The 13-year-old was left penniless and alone in a foreign country. Despite this traumatic start, Regondi found the resilience to build an extraordinary career. Thankfully, several families took Regondi under their wing, allowing him to flourish and keep developing. Around 1832, when Regondi was just 10 years old, his life took an unexpected turn that would forever shape him. He was introduced to Charles Wheatstone, who had recently invented a new instrument called the English concertina. This wasn't just any instrument, this was a sophisticated free reed instrument, with buttons arranged in a unique pattern that alternated between the left and right hand. What's remarkable is how quickly Regondi mastered it. After only 2 years of practice, he was already performing publicly on the concertina, while still developing as a guitar virtuoso. Remember, he's a child at that time. Regondi essentially became the world's first concertina virtuoso. And he wasn't just good at it, he defined what was possible on this instrument. In 1837, Regondi performed at the Birmingham Music Festival, a prestigious event where he shared the bill with none other than Felix Mendelssohn. This performance marked a watershed moment for the concertina, establishing it as a serious concert instrument rather than a novelty. Regondi performed a grand fantasia based on themes from Bellini's opera Norma, demonstrating the concertina's expressive capabilities to an astounded audience. What's fascinating is how Regondi balanced these two musical identities throughout his career. He didn't abandon one for the other, he elevated both. For the guitar, which was already in decline as concert halls grew larger and the piano rose to dominance, Regondi pushed technical boundaries, creating some of the most sophisticated and challenging repertoire of the era. For the concertina, he established a technique, a repertoire, and a place in Victorian musical life. This dual mastery created something unique, cross-pollination between the instruments. The concertina naturally excels at rapid passages in thirds and sixths, which appear frequently in Regondi's guitar compositions. Similarly, the guitaristic textures of arpeggios and tremolo found their way into his concertina works. Regondi wasn't just a performer on these instruments, he was a pioneer who expanded what was possible on both, creating a distinctive compositional voice that transcended the limitations of either instrument alone. The 1840s marked the pinnacle of Regondi's career. In 1841, he embarked on a concert tour of Europe with the cellist Josef Liedl, performing in major cities including Vienna, Prague and Leipzig. It was in Leipzig that one of the most significant concerts of Regondi's life took place. At the invitation of Clara Schumann, herself a legendary pianist, Regondi participated in a benefit concert alongside Clara and Robert Schumann. This wasn't just any concert, it featured the premiere of Robert Schumann's First Symphony, conducted by Felix Mendelssohn. Let that sink in. Regondi was considered worthy of sharing the stage for such a momentous musical event. This wasn't an isolated incident. Throughout his career, Regondi performed alongside the most celebrated musicians of his day, the soprano Maria Malibran, pianist-composers like Ignaz Moscheles and the great piano virtuoso Sigismund Thalberg. These weren't mere coincidences of scheduling. They reflect the genuine respect these legendary musicians had for Regondi's artistry. Despite the guitar's declining popularity during this period, Regondi maintained a rigorous concert schedule throughout the 1840s and 50s. What makes Regondi's music so compelling is that the virtuosity always serves a musical purpose. Unlike some showpieces of the era that prioritize flash over substance, Regondi's compositions are genuinely moving works of art. His Reverie Nocturne Opus 19 begins with a melancholic, harmonically rich introduction before unveiling a revolutionary extended tremolo section. This tremolo passage deserves special attention. Keep in mind, this was written decades before Francisco Tárrega's famous Recuerdos de la Alhambra. Regondi's tremolo in Reverie is actually more extensive and complex. This is truly revolutionary for the 1840s. For the concertina, Regondi's output was more substantial, but this work is still largely unknown outside of specialist circles. What unites Regondi's compositions for both instruments is their distinctly romantic character. These are tone poems in miniature, with evocative titles and emotional depth that place them firmly in the tradition of romantic character pieces. Yet they're also distinctly idiomatic, showcasing an intimate understanding of each instrument's unique capabilities. Despite his remarkable achievements, Regondi's final years were marked by declining health and relative isolation. As both the guitar and concertina began to fade from public concert life, so too did Regondi's visibility. By the late 1860s, he had largely withdrawn from public performance. In a poignant twist of fate, his estranged guardian reappeared during this period. Despite the betrayal he had suffered, Regondi forgave the man and cared for him in his final days. Regondi himself succumbed to cancer on May 6, 1872, at just 50 years old. With his passing, both the guitar and the classical concertina lost their champion. For nearly a century, only a handful of Regondi's works remained in circulation. It wasn't until the 1980s that guitar scholars began to unearth his manuscripts in libraries and private collections. Simon Winberg's 1981 edition of Regondi's known guitar works marked the beginning of a revival. The most significant rediscovery came in 1990, when Matania Offi rediscovered Regondi's 10 Etudes, a comprehensive technical work that had been thought lost for over a century. Additional works have continued to surface even in the last few years. Today, Regondi's music is experiencing a true renaissance. His complete known guitar works have been recorded by numerous artists, yet his substantial body of concertina works remains largely unexplored, at least by guitarists. That may be changing. As recently as last year, Australian guitarist James Odette completed a doctoral thesis focused on transcribing Regondi's concertina compositions for guitar. This challenging exercise could open an entirely new repertoire for guitarists, allowing us to experience the other half of Regondi's musical personality. They're definitely just as hard as his guitar compositions. How should we approach Regondi's music and performance today? I think the biggest mistake would be excessive restraint. Contemporary accounts describe Regondi's playing as miraculous, with a sweet, silvery tone and extraordinary expressiveness. Interestingly, we don't know whether he played with nails or not. This was music designed to dazzle and move audiences. Don't be afraid to embrace the full emotional range of these pieces.
Now, when you're playing the melody here at the beginning, which is in the bass line, we want to make sure that that's as clear as possible. So what you can do is isolate that melody. All of these extra accompaniment notes that you hear here, you don't want them to be going too loudly. So let's just play the melody by itself. You may have noticed that I was doing these sort of leading notes, this tension and release in the melody line whenever there's a semitone that it goes up and resolves. So, like this one.
Check out Tonebase Premium for an incredible treasure trove. If you get a guitar subscription now, you get access to hundreds of high-quality lessons, live streams, a vibrant community of fellow musicians, practice plans, and so much more. For example, a masterclass by Stephanie Jones on Regondi's Reverie. Check it out for a free 14-day trial. Link is in the video description. Regondi's contemporaries marveled at his ability to make the guitar sing like her voice, and modern performers should strive for the same quality. Technically, be prepared to stretch your left hand beyond what feels comfortable. Regondi's experience with the concertina, which can easily play widely spaced chords, likely influenced his guitar writing, leading to expansive voicings that create a rich harmonic palette. Pay particular attention to the balance between melody and accompaniment. In passages with arpeggiated accompaniment, the melodic line should always sing above the texture, requiring careful control of dynamics and tone color. What can we learn from Regondi's unique place in history? Perhaps most importantly, his story reminds us that innovation often happens at the margins. While the piano dominated 19th century concert life, Regondi was quietly pushing the boundaries of what was possible onto less prestigious instruments. His mastery of both the guitar and the concertina gave him a unique perspective. He could see each instrument's limitations and possibilities through fresh eyes. When he died in 1872, both the guitar and concertina were fading fast. It would take decades before the guitar was reborn through players like Tariq Al-Liobet and later, of course, Segovia. But the seeds of that comeback were already in Regondi's approach. He never saw the guitar as fixed or finished. He even tried an 8-string guitar to explore new sounds. And his mastery of 2 different instruments gave him insights most guitarists never had. That's always been the guitar's greatest power, its ability to adapt and evolve. When the guitar gets too rigid or resistant to change, it risks becoming irrelevant. When it embraces new ideas, it thrives. Rediscovering players like Regondi reminds us this is nothing new. The greatest guitarists have always been the ones who pushed boundaries and reimagined what the instrument could be. If you enjoyed this exploration of Giulio Regondi, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the fascinating world of classical guitar. I'm Jakob Schmidt for Tonebase. Thanks so much for watching and see you next time.